Millionaire fell in love at first sight with the bridesmaid who was late, not knowing she was. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Now, let's dive into the story. Imagine this. A crowded, elegant ballroom, filled with guests dressed to the nines, laughter, and music filling the air. And everyone eagerly awaiting the start of the ceremony. The lights dimmed as the bride made her grand entrance, the spotlight shining on her. Yet, in the midst of this perfect moment, one particular woman was far from perfect, at least in her own eyes. She was running late. Emma Brooks had never been one for the high society world she now found herself thrust into. She was a bridesmaid for her childhood friend, and while she adored the bride, she couldn't help but feel out of place in her second-hand dress and scuffed shoes. Her hands trembled as she glanced at the elegant venue, the kind of place where every inch screamed wealth, sophistication, and perfection, things that Emma could only dream of. She was far from the polished image of the other women here. Her heart raced as she tried to blend in, to look like she belonged, but her gaze kept darting around, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being a fish out of water. She adjusted her dress one more time before her eyes locked onto the table where she was supposed to sit. Without much thought, she walked briskly toward it, muttering under her breath about how she had no business being here, how she had to get through this evening with at least some dignity. As she reached the table, she saw a man sitting alone, engrossed in his phone, his back straight and posture perfect. He wore a well-fitted suit, dark hair perfectly styled, and an air of confidence that made Emma feel even smaller. This had to be Kevin, she thought, her date for the evening. With a nervous smile, she approached him and, without thinking, greeted him warmly. "Hi, you must be Kevin," she said, her voice shaking slightly. The man looked up, startled, his eyes meeting hers. For a moment, there was silence as he blinked, trying to process the situation. Hi, Emma," he finally responded, clearly confused but not rude. Emma, thinking he was just shy, slid into the seat opposite him. She fidgeted nervously, her hands curling into the napkin on her lap. "I know this is awkward. Blind dates are always a bit weird, right?" She laughed nervously. "Jenny said you might be a little quiet, so don't worry. I can talk enough for both of us." The man stared at her for a moment, his lips curving into a small, hesitant smile. "Right, blind dates are something else," he replied, his voice calm and collected. Emma took a deep breath, trying to ease her nerves. They began talking, and surprisingly, the conversation flowed easily. Emma found herself laughing more than she had in a while, sharing stories about her waitressing job, her struggles with rent, and her dreams of opening an art studio. She could tell he was genuinely listening, despite his silence. His responses were short, but there was something in his eyes, something that made Emma feel seen, even in her rambling awkwardness. Just as she was about to ask more about his work in tech, her phone buzzed. Looking at it, she froze. The message from her best friend read, *. "Hey Emma, where are you? I'm at table 7. Looking forward to meeting you, Kevin." Emma's stomach sank. Her face flushed red with embarrassment as she turned to the man across from her. "You're not Kevin, are you?" she whispered, her voice barely above a tremor. He smiled faintly, a bit of guilt flashing in his eyes. "No, I'm not," he admitted, standing up quickly as Emma's face turned crimson. Without thinking, she grabbed her coat, muttered apologies, and bolted from the table, leaving him standing there, a strange mix of regret and curiosity swirling in his chest. She ran out of the venue as fast as she could, feeling completely mortified. But as she stepped into the cool night air, something inside her made her stop. Why did she feel so strange about leaving him like that? Was it just the awkwardness, or was there something more? Emma tried to shake it off as she walked toward her car, telling herself it was no big deal. Yet, the more she thought about it, the more she realized something unusual had happened that evening. Something about that man, someone she had mistaken for another, had caught her attention in a way she couldn't explain. It was like a spark, and despite herself, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Little did Emma know, that meeting was far from over, and that man was not just anyone. He wasn't Kevin, and he was about to change her life in ways she could never have imagined. The following day, Emma couldn't shake the memory of the previous evening. She had barely slept, replaying the scene in her mind over and over again. The shock of sitting at the wrong table, the awkwardness of running out, and the strange feeling that had settled in her chest. She had to admit, she couldn't stop thinking about him. Despite everything, there was something about the man that had intrigued her, something different from the usual wealthy men she encountered. He wasn't flashy or boastful. He was calm, collected, and even kind in his own quiet way. But now, as the day went on, she tried to convince herself that it was nothing. She had been nervous, and he was just a random stranger she'd accidentally mistaken for someone else. Nothing more. However, as she stepped into the cafe to meet her friend Jenny later that afternoon, her phone buzzed again. This time, it was a message from an unknown number. "Hi, Emma. It's Liam. The guy you thought was Kevin. I hope you're not too mad at me for not correcting you last night. I'd love to apologize properly. Maybe a coffee sometime?" Emma blinked at the screen, her heart skipping a beat. It was him, the man from last night. She stared at the message for a long moment, before a wave of disbelief washed over her. She hadn't expected to hear from him again, let alone get a message like this. Was he serious? Was it just a joke? She quickly typed a response. "Hi, Liam. I'm not mad. Just embarrassed, honestly. But sure, coffee sounds nice." She hit send, her fingers trembling slightly. What was she doing? Was she really going to meet him again after that disaster? But deep down, a part of her wanted to know more. She didn't know why, but something told her there was more to him than just a random millionaire. Later that afternoon, they met at a small cafe near her apartment. Emma arrived first, still unsure of what to expect. The last time they'd met had been awkward, to say the least. But this time, she was determined to keep her composure. She looked around, hoping to spot him, but there was no sign of him yet. Then, just as she was about to check her phone, she heard a familiar voice. "Hi, Emma." She turned, and there he was. Liam Parker, standing in front of her with a warm smile on his face. He was dressed casually this time, wearing a simple sweater and jeans, but he still looked as put together as she remembered. For a moment, Emma was at a loss for words. He didn't seem anything like the wealthy CEO she had imagined him to be. He looked normal, just a guy, just Liam. "I'm really sorry about last night," Liam said, taking a seat across from her. "I should have told you who I really was, but I didn't want to complicate things. I just wanted to get to know you as me." Emma didn't know what to say. Part of her still felt uneasy about the whole situation, but another part of her felt comforted by his honesty. She wasn't used to people being this open, especially not someone with so much money and power. "I get it," she replied, forcing a smile. "I mean, it was kind of a mess, but I get why you didn't say anything. It's just, I don't know. I don't usually meet people like you." Liam's eyes softened. "People like me?" he asked gently. Emma paused for a moment before answering, unsure of how to phrase it. "I mean, people who have money. You know, like, a lot of it. I've just never felt like I belonged in a world like that." Liam nodded, understanding. "I get that. Believe me, I do. But I'm not just a millionaire. I'm just a guy who's trying to find something real." Emma couldn't help but feel a little taken aback by his words. She had expected him to be like every other rich guy she'd met, self-absorbed, detached, and only interested in what she could offer him. But here he was, sitting in front of her, being completely open and vulnerable. Maybe, just maybe, there was more to him than she had first thought. They spent the next hour talking about their lives. Emma shared her struggles with her job, her dreams of opening an art studio, and how hard it was to make ends meet. Liam listened intently, never once interrupting. He was genuinely interested in what she had to say. As the conversation continued, Emma realized just how different this was from any other conversation she'd ever had. With Liam, there was no pretense. No hidden agendas, no distractions, just two people talking. As they said their goodbyes, Liam gave her a slight smile. I hope we can do this again sometime, Emma. I really enjoy talking with you. Emma smiled back, her heart a little lighter. Yeah, I'd like that. She watched him walk away, her mind racing with thoughts she couldn't quite sort through. Maybe this wasn't just some coincidence. Maybe this was the beginning of something real. The next few days passed in a blur for Emma. But one thing stood out: Liam. She couldn't stop thinking about their coffee date, the way he had listened to her, and how different he seemed from what she had expected. Her heart fluttered whenever she thought about him, and although she tried to convince herself it was nothing more than a brief encounter, she knew deep down that she was lying to herself. There was something between them, something undeniable. It was the way they laughed together, the way their conversations flowed so easily, and the way he made her feel seen in a way no one ever had. But still, she was cautious. She didn't want to get too attached to someone from a world so different from hers, especially not someone like Liam Parker, the Millionaire CEO. She had learned the hard way that people like him were out of reach for people like her. The next week, Emma found herself at work, trying to push aside her growing feelings for Liam. She had bills to pay, a job to keep, and dreams of her own that didn't involve falling for a man who lived a life so far removed from hers. Yet, every time her phone buzzed, she found herself hoping it was a message from him. She tried to stay busy, but the truth was, Liam had made an impact on her. The more she thought about him, the more she realized how much she liked him. It wasn't just his wealth or the life he could offer her. It was him, the man who cared, who listened, who made her feel like she mattered. One afternoon, as Emma was finishing up her shift at the diner, she noticed a man standing by the door, looking around the room. Her heart skipped a beat. It was Liam. He was here. She hadn't seen him in days, and she hadn't expected him to show up at her workplace. He was dressed casually again, but his presence seemed to fill the room. For a moment, Emma just stood there, unsure of what to do. Should she go to him, or wait for him to come to her? But before she could make up her mind, he spotted her and smiled. "Hey, Emma," he said, his voice warm. "I hope I'm not interrupting." "Liam," she said, a little surprised, but glad to see him. "What are you doing here?" He shrugged, his smile never faltering. "I thought I'd come by and surprise you. I've been thinking about you." The words caught her off guard. She felt a warmth spread through her chest, but she didn't know how to respond. She wasn't sure if she was ready to let her guard down completely. "I'm glad you came," she finally said, her voice soft. "It's been a crazy week." "I can imagine," Liam said, his eyes scanning her face. "But you're doing okay, right?" "Yeah, I'm fine," Emma replied quickly. "Just busy, you know. Work, bills, life." Liam nodded sympathetically. "I get it. But I wanted to talk to you about something." Emma raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" "I've been thinking a lot about us," he said, his tone serious. "I know we come from different worlds, but I feel like there's something here. Something real." Emma's heart raced at his words. She had been thinking the same thing, but hearing him say it out loud made it all the more real. "I'm not sure I'm ready for something like that," she said, her voice a little shaky. "I mean, we barely know each other. And I'm not sure I belong in your world." Liam stepped closer to her, his gaze intense but gentle. "I don't want to push you," he said. "But I don't want to let this slip away either. I want to get to know you, really know you. Not the waitress, not the person who's struggling to make ends meet. I want to know the real you." Emma's breath caught in her throat. She wanted to say something, to tell him how much that meant to her. But words failed her. Instead, she just stood there, staring at him, feeling a mixture of hope and fear. "You don't have to decide anything right now," Liam continued. "But I want you to know that I'm here, and I'm serious about getting to know you better. No strings attached, no expectations, just us." Emma felt the weight of his words settle in her chest, and for the first time in a long while, she allowed herself to believe that maybe, just maybe, there was a future here. She wasn't sure what it would look like, or where it would go, but she knew one thing for sure. She wanted to find out. "Okay," she said, finally finding her voice. "I'm willing to see where this goes." Liam's smile was warm and genuine. "That's all I'm asking for." The two of them stood there for a moment, neither of them saying anything, but both of them feeling the promise of something new, something real. Emma's heart felt lighter than it had in days, and for the first time in a long time, she allowed herself to dream of a different kind of life, one where love, not money, was at the center of it all. Over the next few weeks, Emma and Liam continued to see each other, their connection deepening with every conversation, every shared laugh, and every quiet moment they spent together. They went to coffee shops, art galleries, and even just walked around the city, getting to know each other in ways that felt completely natural. Emma couldn't deny it anymore. She was falling for him. But there was always a part of her that held back, a part that reminded her of the differences between them, the world she came from and the world he was a part of. She was a waitress, struggling to make ends meet, while he was a millionaire, living a life of luxury and privilege. Yet, despite those differences, Liam never made her feel less than. If anything, he made her feel like she belonged, like she was enough, just as she was. One evening, as they sat on a bench overlooking the city skyline, Emma felt a sense of peace she hadn't known in a long time. Liam had been quiet for a while, and she could tell he was thinking about something. "What's on your mind?" she asked softly, her voice breaking the silence. He looked at her, his eyes thoughtful. "I've been thinking about how lucky I am," he said, his voice low. "Lucky?" Emma raised an eyebrow. "Yeah," he nodded, his gaze steady. "I have everything I could ever want. Money, success, a career I love, but I didn't have something real, until I met you." Emma's heart fluttered at his words. She wasn't used to hearing things like that. People, especially men, usually saw her for what she lacked, not for who she truly was. But Liam saw her, for everything she was, and for everything she wasn't. She smiled, feeling the warmth of his words wrap around her. "I'm glad you feel that way," she said quietly. "I never thought someone like you would look at someone like me." Liam took her hand in his thumb gently tracing the back of her knuckles. "You're more than just someone like you. You're incredible, Emma. You're smart, kind, beautiful, and you have a passion for life that most people can't even begin to understand. You don't need to change for me. I like you just as you are." The sincerity in his voice made Emma's heart swell, but at the same time, it stirred up the doubts she had buried deep inside. "But what about everything else?" she asked, her voice tinged with uncertainty. "What about the fact that you live in a penthouse and I live in a small apartment? What about all the things I can't offer you?" Liam shook his head, a soft chuckle escaping his lips. "I don't care about any of that. I don't need money, Emma. I need someone who gets me, who makes me feel something real. That's what I have with you." Emma felt her chest tighten. It wasn't just the physical differences that worried her, it was the emotional distance, the fear that one day she wouldn't be enough. She had been let down before, and she was scared of putting herself out there again, only to be disappointed. "You're not just saying that because I'm the girl you picked up in a cafe, right?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Liam squeezed her hand, his gaze unwavering. "No, Emma. I'm saying that because I'm in love with you." The words hung in the air, and for a moment, everything around them seemed to disappear. Emma's breath caught in her throat. She had heard the word before, but never with the same weight, the same sincerity that Liam had just given it. In that moment, she realized that she had been afraid of something she shouldn't have been. She had been afraid of love, but here it was, standing right in front of her. She didn't know what the future held, or where their relationship would go, but for the first time, she allowed herself to believe in it. "I'm in love with you too," she whispered, her voice full of emotion. Liam's face lit up, a smile spreading across his lips as he leaned in and kissed her softly, his lips warm and full of promise. It wasn't the kind of kiss that changed everything in a moment, but it was a kiss that spoke volumes. A kiss that said, "We're in this together." And just like that, Emma realized that she didn't need anything more than this. The past, the fears, the doubts, they all melted away in that moment. She had found something real, something worth fighting for. She had found Liam, and in him, she had found her home. The days following their confession were a whirlwind of emotions for Emma. Everything had changed, and yet nothing felt out of place. Liam had become a constant in her life, and she was learning to embrace the love they were building. Their time together felt like a dream, a reality she had never expected but now couldn't imagine living without. Despite their differences, despite her fears, Emma felt more at peace with Liam than she had with anyone before. However, the nagging voice in the back of her mind never fully went away. She was still the same Emma, struggling to make ends meet. And Liam was still the millionaire CEO who had everything she had always dreamed of. She wondered, deep down, if their relationship was destined to be another one of those fairy tales that would come crashing down when reality hit. It was one afternoon, after spending a quiet day at the art gallery where she had showcased her work, that Liam looked at her with a seriousness she hadn't seen before. They were sitting in the small cafe where they first met, sipping coffee and talking about the future. "I've been thinking," Liam began, his voice low and steady, "about us." Emma's heart skipped a beat. "What about us?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady, though her mind raced with possibilities. "I know we've been taking things slow, and I respect that," Liam said, pausing as if weighing his next words carefully. "But I want you to know that I'm all in. I don't want to hide anymore. I want to be with you, Emma. Not just when it's convenient or when we're in our little bubble, but for real. I want to introduce you to my world." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. His words were so genuine, so full of hope, yet she couldn't shake the fear that had been lingering in her heart. "Liam, you don't have to," she started, but he cut her off gently, his hand reaching across the table to hold hers. "Yes, I do, because I want everyone to know that you're mine. I want you to be proud of us, proud of what we're building together." Emma looked at their joined hands, her heart swelling with emotion, but she also felt the weight of uncertainty creeping in. "I don't know if I can handle that," she admitted quietly, her eyes meeting his. "I'm not like you. You have this whole life, this image, and I'm just me. I don't belong in that world, Liam. I'm scared that I'll never be enough for you, that I'll always be the girl who doesn't fit." The words rushed out before she could stop them, and as she said them, she felt the tears she had been holding back threaten to spill. Liam's expression softened, and he gently wiped a tear that had escaped down her cheek. "Emma, you are more than enough," he said, his voice filled with such sincerity that it took her breath away. "I don't want someone who fits into my world. I want you, exactly as you are. You're the one who makes my life feel real, not all the things I have. You, Emma, are everything I need." She swallowed hard, her emotions swirling. She had wanted to believe that for so long, but hearing it from him, hearing him say those words, made it all feel possible. "But what if the world doesn't accept us?" she whispered, the fear still there. "What if they see me as just the waitress, just the girl who doesn't belong?" Liam squeezed her hand, his gaze unwavering. "We don't need the world's approval, Emma. All that matters is what we have, and if they can't see that, then that's their problem, not ours." Emma felt a surge of relief wash over her as his words sank in. Maybe he was right. Maybe it didn't matter what anyone else thought. All that mattered was what they shared, and for the first time, she let herself believe that their love could stand up to anything. "Okay," she said softly, her voice steady now. "Let's do it. Let's stop hiding." Liam's smile lit up the room, and for the first time, Emma felt a weight lift off her shoulders. She wasn't just the girl from a small apartment anymore. She was Liam's girl, and that was enough. As they walked out of the cafe, hand in hand, Emma felt a sense of clarity. She had never been one for grand gestures, but Liam's love had changed her. It had made her see herself differently, made her believe that she was worthy of something real. The world may have been full of obstacles, but together they could face anything. She was ready to embrace the future with him, to let their love grow in the light. And as they walked down the street, the city bustling around them, Emma knew that she wasn't just stepping into Liam's world. She was stepping into a world that was theirs, one they had built together, where love was the only thing that truly mattered. The days that followed their decision to stop hiding were filled with excitement, new challenges, and moments of deep connection. Liam introduced Emma to his world, but not in the way she had expected. He didn't flaunt his wealth or make her feel out of place. Instead, he gently integrated her into his life, showing her the parts that mattered to him most. They attended charity events, visited art galleries, and even spent quiet evenings in his penthouse, enjoying simple pleasures like cooking together and sharing stories about their past. Liam made sure that Emma always felt like she belonged, never pushing her into situations that made her uncomfortable. At first, the transition was awkward for Emma. She was used to being the outsider, the girl who didn't fit in with the high society crowd. But with Liam by her side, she began to see that she didn't have to change who she was to be a part of his world. One evening, after a charity gala, Liam took her to a secluded rooftop garden on his building. The city lights below flickered, casting a soft glow on everything around them. They sat together in silence, watching the world go by. Emma had always been afraid of this life, the glitz, the glamour, the pressure to keep up with expectations. But sitting there with Liam, she realized that all of it, the wealth, the status, the recognition, meant nothing without the connection they shared. "You okay?" Liam asked, his voice gentle as he turned to look at her. Emma smiled, her heart swelling with affection. "Yeah," she replied, leaning her head on his shoulder. "I think I am." It was in this moment that Emma finally allowed herself to fully accept what was happening. She had spent so much time protecting herself, building walls to keep others out, but with Liam, she realized that she didn't have to be afraid anymore. Their love was real, not based on appearances or expectations, but on who they were as individuals and the bond they shared. It wasn't perfect, but it was theirs. "I've been thinking a lot about our future," Liam said, breaking the comfortable silence. Emma lifted her head, looking at him with curiosity. "What about it?" Liam took her hand in his, holding it gently as he met her gaze. "I want us to build a life together, Emma. Not just as a couple, but as partners. I know I have the money, the power, but what I really want is to build something that means something. Something with you." Emma's heart raced at his words. She had always dreamed of a life filled with love and purpose, but she had never expected it to be with someone like Liam. "You want me to be a part of that?" she asked, a little breathless. Liam nodded, his eyes full of sincerity. "I want you to be my partner in every sense of the word. Not just in the good times, but in the hard times, too. I know we come from different worlds, but I believe we can create something amazing together." Emma was silent for a moment, letting his words sink in. She had always been afraid of what others would think, of not being enough, of not fitting in. But in this moment, with Liam's hand in hers, she realized that none of that mattered. What mattered was what they had, what they could build together. "I want that too," she said softly, her voice filled with conviction. "I want to build a life with you. I'm not sure exactly what it will look like, but I know I want to be with you, every step of the way." Liam's smile was everything she had ever dreamed of, genuine, full of warmth, and filled with love. "Then we'll do it," he said, his voice full of certainty. "Together." They sat there for a while longer, the city stretching out before them, but Emma didn't feel overwhelmed by it. Instead, she felt a sense of peace, of belonging. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. They didn't have all the answers, and they didn't know what the future held, but they knew one thing for sure: they were in it together. And that, Emma thought, was enough. As they stood up and walked back into the building, their hands tightly intertwined, Emma realized that she had never been more sure of anything in her life. She had found something real, something that went beyond the glitter and the glamour. She had found love. True love. And for the first time, she was ready to embrace it fully. Without fear. Without hesitation. She was ready to step into the future with Liam, whatever it might bring. As the weeks passed, Emma and Liam settled into a rhythm. Their days were filled with work, laughter, and new adventures, and their bond grew stronger with every passing moment. They spent more time together, whether it was at charity events, quiet dinners, or even spontaneous weekend getaways. The more they experienced life together, the more Emma realized how deeply she was falling in love with Liam and how truly happy she was. But life, as always, had its way of testing even the most perfect of relationships. One evening, after a week of busy meetings and events, Emma and Liam found themselves at the same cafe where they had first reconnected. The atmosphere was calm, the soft hum of conversations around them providing a quiet backdrop to their own. Emma sipped her coffee, her mind drifting between thoughts of her work and her dreams. She was still trying to figure out exactly how she could pursue her passion for art, while still supporting herself and her family. Liam sat across from her, his usual calm demeanor reflecting in his gaze as he watched her. "You've been quiet tonight," he said, breaking the silence. Emma looked up at him, offering a small smile. "Just thinking," she replied. "A lot on my mind." Liam raised an eyebrow, his curiosity piqued. "What's going on?" he asked, his voice gentle but concerned. Emma hesitated, unsure of how to explain the swirling mix of emotions inside her. She had always prided herself on being independent, on handling things on her own, but now that she had Liam in her life, she felt more vulnerable than ever. I feel like I'm stuck," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't know how to make my dreams come true. I want to create art. I want to open a gallery, but I don't have the resources, and I don't even know where to start." Liam listened intently, his eyes softening as he took in her words. "I've seen your work, Emma," he said slowly, leaning forward slightly. "You're incredibly talented. I know it's not easy, but I believe in you. You just need to take the first step, and I'll be right here, supporting you." Emma's heart skipped a beat. She had never felt more seen, more understood than in this moment. "But what if I fail?" she asked, the fear creeping back in. "What if it all falls apart, and I'm left with nothing?" Liam reached across the table, taking her hand in his. "You won't fail, Emma. I know you. And even if things don't go as planned, it's not the end. I'm here with you, and we'll figure it out together. You don't have to do this alone." His words were like a warm embrace, and for the first time in a long time, Emma felt a sense of calm wash over her. The doubt that had been weighing on her seemed to fade, replaced by a sense of certainty. "Thank you," she whispered, squeezing his hand. "I don't know what I would do without you." Liam smiled, his eyes filled with affection. "You'll never have to find out. We're in this together, remember?" Just as Emma was starting to feel a sense of relief, a sudden thought hit her. "But what about your world, Liam?" she asked, her voice hesitant. "You're a billionaire CEO, and I'm just me. I'm scared that one day you'll realize I don't belong in that world. That maybe I'll drag you down." Liam shook his head firmly, his expression serious. "Emma, you belong in my world. I never chose you for your background or your status. I chose you because of who you are. You're the one who makes my life richer, not my money, not my career. It's you." Emma felt the weight of his words settle in her heart, and for the first time, she allowed herself to fully accept the love they shared. She no longer felt the need to measure herself against the life Liam had built. Together, they were creating something unique, something real. "I don't want to change who I am," she said softly, "but I want to build something with you, something that means something to both of us." Liam's smile deepened, and his eyes sparkled with warmth. "And we will, Emma. We'll build it together. No matter what comes our way, we'll face it as a team." The rest of the evening passed in a quiet, contented silence, the weight of their conversation hanging in the air but bringing a sense of peace. Emma no longer feared the future. With Liam by her side, she knew they could navigate whatever life threw at them. And as they left the cafe, hand in hand, Emma realized something important. It wasn't about fitting into a world that didn't feel like hers. It was about building their own world together, one where love, trust, and partnership came first. They were stronger than ever, and nothing could break the bond they had formed. She was ready to take that first step toward her dreams, knowing that Liam would be there, every step of the way. As time passed, Emma and Liam's life together began to take shape in ways they had never imagined. With Liam's encouragement, Emma started taking the first steps toward her dream of opening an art gallery. She began attending art shows, networking with artists, and even started planning her own first exhibition. Liam was by her side every step of the way, offering both emotional and financial support, though he always made it clear that the choice and the hard work were hers. "I'm just here to help you make your dreams a reality," he would say with a smile whenever she hesitated. Emma found herself more confident with every new decision she made, knowing that Liam's faith in her was unwavering. But their journey wasn't without its challenges. The more involved they became in each other's worlds, the more they had to navigate the complexities of being from such different backgrounds. Emma often felt like an outsider in the lavish events and corporate dinners that Liam attended, though he always reassured her. "You don't need to fit in," he would remind her. "You belong with me, just as you are." Despite his words, Emma still struggled with feelings of inadequacy. She worried about how others would view their relationship, unsure if they would ever truly accept her as part of Liam's world. She was a simple girl, an artist from humble beginnings, while Liam was the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. The contrasts often left her feeling like she was always one step behind. One evening, at a high-profile gala, Emma found herself surrounded by Liam's colleagues, all of whom were dressed in designer clothes, their conversations revolving around business deals and the latest investments. She felt out of place, uncomfortable in her own skin. Liam noticed her unease immediately and took her hand. "Come on, let's get some fresh air," he suggested, leading her outside onto the balcony overlooking the city. The cool breeze was a welcome relief from the stifling atmosphere inside. "You okay?" Liam asked, his voice full of concern. Emma smiled faintly, her nerves still on edge. "I'm fine," she said softly. "I just feel like I don't belong here. All these people, they're so different." Liam turned to her, his eyes locking onto hers. "Emma, you belong in my world because you're the one I want to be with, not because you fit some mold. You don't have to change who you are to make anyone else happy." Emma felt a lump form in her throat. She had heard his words many times, but hearing them now, at this moment, made her realize just how much they had truly built together. Their connection wasn't about wealth or status, it was about trust, love, and understanding. "I know it's not easy," Liam continued, squeezing her hand. "But you don't have to face it alone. We're in this together, no matter what." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of her worries start to lift. She had been so focused on the differences between their worlds that she had forgotten about the most important thing. They had each other, and that was all that mattered. As they stood together, the city lights twinkling below them, Emma realized that she was finally ready to stop doubting herself and their love. The future was uncertain, but one thing was for sure: she and Liam were going to face it together. The next few months brought new challenges, but with Liam's unwavering support and Emma's growing confidence, they were ready to take on whatever came their way. Emma's art gallery began to take shape, and her first exhibition was a success, with visitors from all over the city appreciating her work. She finally felt like she was living her dream, and she knew that none of it would have been possible without Liam. The more she immersed herself in her art, the more she realized just how deeply connected she felt to the life they were building. She wasn't just Liam's partner in a relationship. She was his equal, his collaborator, his support. And that was something she had never imagined she could feel. One evening, as they were walking through the gallery after a successful opening night, Liam pulled her close. "I'm so proud of you, Emma," he said, his voice filled with pride. "You've worked so hard, and now look at you. This is just the beginning." Emma smiled, leaning into him. "I couldn't have done it without you," she whispered. "You've believed in me from the start." Liam kissed her forehead gently. "And I always will," he said, his voice full of conviction. In that moment, Emma knew that no matter where their journey took them, they had already built something incredible, something worth fighting for. She had found the strength to chase her dreams, and Liam had been there every step of the way, encouraging her, loving her, and supporting her. Their love was no longer just about them. It was about the life they were creating together, one that was built on trust, respect, and the shared belief that anything was possible as long as they were together. As the months went by, Emma and Liam continued to build their life together, and everything they had worked for started to fall into place. Emma's art gallery, once a dream she never thought possible, was now a thriving space, showcasing not only her work but also the work of other talented artists. The support she received from Liam was unwavering, but it wasn't just his financial backing that helped her succeed, it was his belief in her. Every step of the way, he had been there, encouraging her when she doubted herself, celebrating every small victory. Their love had grown stronger, and the bond they shared was more than just a partnership. It was a deep connection that transcended their differences. One evening, after a successful opening at the gallery, Liam took Emma out for a quiet dinner. The atmosphere was intimate, just the two of them in a cozy corner of a small restaurant they had visited on one of their early dates. As they sipped wine and shared a dessert, Liam's expression grew more serious. "Emma," he began, his voice soft but filled with emotion. "I've been thinking about everything we've been through and everything we've built together. I can't imagine my life without you." Emma's heart skipped a beat, but she smiled, her eyes meeting his. "I can't imagine mine without you either." "There's something I want to ask you," Liam continued, taking her hand across the table. "I've always known that I wanted more than just success in my career or wealth in my life. I wanted love, real love, and I found that with you. But now, I'm realizing that what I want the most is to build a future with you, to share everything with you, every moment, every dream, every challenge. I want to spend the rest of my life with you, Emma." Emma's breath caught in her throat, her heart racing with emotion. She had never expected this moment to come so soon, but here it was, everything she had ever dreamed of. "Liam, she started, but her voice faltered as her emotions overwhelmed her. "You're everything I've ever wanted," she said, squeezing his hand. "But I'm still scared. I don't know if I can live up to what you deserve. I don't know if I can be the person you need." Liam smiled softly, brushing a lock of hair from her face. "You already are, Emma. You've always been. You don't have to change for me, and you don't have to be afraid of not being enough. You're everything I need, and more. I've never been more sure of anything in my life." A tear slipped down Emma's cheek, but it wasn't from sadness. It was from the overwhelming feeling of love and gratitude she had for the man sitting across from her. "I love you," she whispered. "I love you so much, Liam, and I'm ready to build that future with you." Liam reached into his pocket, his movements slow and deliberate. He pulled out a small velvet box, and when he opened it, Emma's breath caught in her throat. Inside was a simple, elegant diamond ring, shining in the soft light of the restaurant. "Will you marry me, Emma?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, but filled with all the sincerity in the world. Emma's heart swelled as she looked at the ring, then back at Liam. She had never imagined that her life would lead her to this moment, sitting across from the man she loved, about to say yes to a future full of love, hope, and possibility. "Yes," she whispered, her voice shaking with emotion. "Yes, Liam, I will marry you." The moment they shared was quiet, yet it spoke volumes. As Liam slid the ring onto her finger, the world outside seemed to fade away. In that moment, it was just the two of them, and everything they had built together. Their love had taken them through so many obstacles, and now, as they stood on the threshold of a new chapter in their lives, they knew that whatever came next, they would face it together. The journey ahead was unknown, but they had each other, and that was all they needed. As they left the restaurant hand in hand, the city lights twinkling around them, Emma realized that she was no longer the girl who doubted herself. She was a woman who had found her true love, a love that had transformed her life in ways she never thought possible. And as she looked at Liam, her future husband, she knew that their story was just beginning. They had come a long way, but there was still so much more to discover, so much more to build, and Emma couldn't wait to experience it all, with Liam by her side.